It's a familiar story, it's just an overwhelming story. The story briefly is that by the Baal Shem Tov there was a tkufa, by the Shem Tov was a period of time when the Baal Shem Tov was what you and I would call depressed. Tzaddikim, you can't say depression, because they don't have klipa, but you could have withdrawnness, siluk, to withdraw. Shem Tov was very withdrawn, very unavailable. And the Chavraya Kaddish were very disturbed by the Baal Shem Tov's Ma'amid Matzav, his being pulled back, withdrawn. So they tried to cheer him up, to bring him out of that place. They were Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, they were themselves tzaddikim and go'inim, and they used methods and techniques that were meaningful for the Baal Shem Tov to sort of wake him up, to bring him out, and nothing worked. One afternoon, a farmer walked into the Baal Shem Tov's Beis Medrash in Mezbush. A farmer, a peasant from a nearby village, who was a true Loyadam Aikomenik, and he was not the tzaddik nista, he was a simple man, could barely read and write. And his whole life was the farm, his cow and his sheep and his goats and his chickens and his barn and his wheat and his cotton and his hay. And he came to the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov sees him, and Baal Shem Tov tells him Shalom Aleichem. We all know how much the Baal Shem Tov loved Anoshim Pshutim. And the Baal Shem Tov sits down to schmooze with this guy, and they sit for a long time. And they're talking about cows and chickens and goats. You could think they're talking about Ilmis Ein Sof. And the Baal Shem Tov is so excited and he's so animated and he's enjoying this man's discussing his cow and his goats and his chickens. And when he finally leaves, the Baal Shem Tov's mood was transformed. He was in incredibly good space. So the Chavraya Kaddish asked the Holy Baal Shem Tov, is this a tzaddik nister that we don't recognize, who gave the Baal Shem Tov such joy by talking about cows and chickens and goats and hay and wool and wheat and cotton? He says, no, he's a Pashta Yid. So they said, Rebbe, we've been trying to, so to speak, bring you out of your introversion for all this time. And this Pashta Yid, by talking to you about very, very lowly things, was able to wake you up, to ignite you, so to speak. So the Baal Shem Tov said as follows. This man had a test that is so great that a test of this magnitude has not been since Avraham Avinu was tested to take Yitzchak Avinu to the Akedah, and he passed his test. This man was given a test, an Nisayon. And relative to who he was, this test was equal to the test that the Eibishter gave Avraham when he told him, Kach no as bincha sichitcha shahavta as Yitzchak. V'lech lecha. He told him to bring him to Har HaMoriah. And he told him the story. He was very poor, and he didn't spend anything on himself. Everything went for the Yitzhak Habayis. But one thing, every once in a while, he'd put away a coin for an esrik. His mitzvah was esrik. Every year before Sukkot, the merchants would wait for him. He would come, he had a few more dollars. I mean, everybody was poor. He would save money, and he'd buy a nicer esrik, or the nicest esrik. One year he comes home with the esrik, and his wife says to him, you have to sell it. We need the esrik for household expenses, or for a shidduch for the kala, whatever, for one of the daughters, and so on. He hesitated. So in her frustration, she bit off the pitim. By biting off the pitim, she guaranteed that it was worthless, no one's going to buy it back. And he couldn't use it. So this man, instead of getting angry at his wife, which is of course a very natural reaction, he said to himself, the fact that my wife broke off the pitim, and I didn't even have a chance to make a bracha on this esrik once, is proof that min hashamayim I'm not deserving to have such a choshev esrik, and that's why my wife bit the pitim off, and he didn't display and feel any anger towards her at all. So the Baal Shem Tov said, this individual, when he held back, when he was Ma'ivir al Mideisav, we did not get angry at his wife for that test, was met with a challenge equal to the test of Avraham Avinu taking Yitzchak to the Akedah. Could you imagine? So the Rebbe says there can be tshuva and Torah and mitzvahs if the Torah and mitzvahs are under duress. Ordinary Torah and mitzvahs, even by a simple Jew, is part of tzaddik. But extreme Torah and mitzvahs, when you're dealing with it under very difficult conditions, it's considered Mesiras Nefesh, even when, quote, all it is Torah and mitzvahs, and when it comes to Torah and mitzvahs, we say this is the true wish of a Jew.